Hello everyone, my name is Raul, and I would like to thank you first of all for having a look at this tutorial, and also 3D World for the opportunity of creating it. I won't be going in too much about myself or anything. I'll just dive into the tutorial itself and explain you what is it that you're seeing on the screen, and also guide you through all the steps that it took me to accomplish this tutorial, which is basically in a nutshell my workflow for creating this type of either creature or concept art. So what you're seeing on the screen basically is the reference sheet for what was my intention in terms of creating this creature. Now, my creature came from a personal life experience, meaning I had just come back from the Trojan Horse was a unicorn event in Portugal where a lot of amazing artists gathered together, and I really felt this, let's say, this urge to create something that would envision and picture that experience that also relates in a way, if you can understand this, to us all. I felt that we were all, and we are all, on a journey. So that journey, that quest to either better ourselves as an artist or to move forward to our objectives is what made me come up with Gorgua. So after making a couple of reference sheets that have all the imagery that inspire me and will serve as reference for my design, I basically start iterating on some sketches, on some silhouette thumbnails that that will help me basically envision what the creature is while still being just inside my mind, but also having as a basis that reference sheet which will ground our design and will give it somewhat of an extra bit of reality that people can at least relate to if they see the creature. So you want to create a design that is both whimsical, okay, but also believable or grounded in reality. I have two ways of doing this. What you're seeing on screen right now is me just using Photoshop, a simple background with a little tint of gray, and a really simple brush. I don't have many brushes. I just use this one brush, round brush, and I change the opacity or the flow, and basically this mimics what would be my process of doing the same thing, the same iteration over and over, with just a simple piece of paper and a Copic marker or a Copic pen. So what I'm doing is I'm drawing through the shapes, through the forms, and I'm also, as you can see, those lines are just the perspective lines. I'm grounding the character in order to have it in perspective, or with a sense of perspective, let's say. And then I start drawing through the shapes, meaning I tend to work really small, and then with that simple brush I just told you, I draw the main shapes, the main major masses of the body, things like the torso, which is normally when I start, then the limbs, and normally I finish up with the head, because the head for me tends to give me the overall size of the creature, let's say. I mean, the torso can be really big or really small, but for me it's the head that will give me the either realistic or more cartoonish or stylized. I don't really like the word cartoonish, stylized feel to the character. So basically I believe that for this part that's basically it, meaning I'm just doing a couple of iterations here and there, thinking and looking, because I have my reference sheet put up on my left side, because I have two monitors set up. So on my left side is the reference sheet I just showed you at the beginning of the video, and then my next thought process on this is, while I'm iterating, I'm looking at the different species, the creatures, the mood, and I'm trying to combine some of the features of all of those creatures into this one, meaning I'm going for that whimsical, odd-looking, cute, appealing creature that also can translate a bit of reality by the way it's constructed. So having you look at things like the apes, things like the insects, I'm trying to combine parts in order to come up with something that gives me that initial feel and pitch, let's say, that I had for the story itself. So I'm just going to sit through and let you enjoy this part of the video where I go about creating the rest of the thumbnails. It's a little bit sped up. Up until now it hasn't been, but throughout the entire tutorial I'll be talking in the parts that I see fit to help you understand my thought process, which I believe it's the most important thing here, and I'll sit through the others where I speed up the video so that you don't get bored to death and can actually enjoy the technique part, let's say. Though I'm staying really loose here, which is for me the most important thing. I want that forward momentum where I keep things flowing so I don't get lost in detail, I don't get bugged with, you know, the line not being in the right place. There's plenty of time for that. For now, you want to keep those ideas flowing, you want to keep them coming out, and that's exactly what I do here. So enjoy this part, and then I'll step in every little bit that I see fit to add a comment or something substantial to help you either understand or improve with some line of thought process here. Now, as you can see here, in just a matter of a couple of minutes, even though the video was a little bit sped up, by having my reference collage on my left screen and having a look at the several creatures that I've placed there, and going through each part and the mood and whatnot, I was able to come up with a couple of just really quick and rough silhouette sketches that already can inform me so much of a possible direction that I might want to take with my creature. So I've written down a couple of little things here and there next to each one of the thumbnails, informing me in my line of process, in my line of thought, as to which parts I wanted to combine in order to achieve that type of visual that I'm aiming for. So basically I actually ended up choosing the one on the top right, but what I was looking for here was something that would give me the ability to portrait to the viewer that sense of journey, that sense of, okay, it's a whimsical creature that could possibly exist in our life, which is, you know, in reality, which is small and we probably wouldn't even notice it, but it's there and it's making all the use of its life to the best of its ability. Now, it kind of translates in the same way to us. What are we doing to our lives? What is it that we enjoy doing, and why don't we do it more often? So I combined the firefly, the ladybug, the rhinoceros beetle, and the mayfly, which only has a lifespan of 1 day, by the way, out of curiosity here, and came up with that one on the top right, which is exactly what I'm going to now further develop into what will be the concept for our 3D sculpting. So I think that's about it for this part, and next I'm gonna keep developing the concept a little bit further while still staying loose, again, I remind you. So basically what I do here, again staying as loose and as simple as I can, is to pick up that silhouette and now starting to draw through that silhouette, even though, as you can see, my process is a little bit of a trial and error one, as I believe is with everyone else, and I do enjoy both doing just the thumbnail sketches or fill in a form or shape that kind of translates or portraits more or less what I'm envisioning. So I basically just made the size of the brush smaller in order to get that line drawing out, and start basically filling in all that little extra detail that will better inform me of not only the shapes that I have in the silhouette, but also the inner shapes, or let's say the secondary detail, as well as a little bit of the tertiary detail as well. Things like its hard shell or exoskeleton, things like his limbs, and how, you know, can I add something that relates to nature, things like freckles and stuff like that. For his back shell and his wings, for example, I went for the wet blubber, which is an amazing insect that has this really, really thick and heavy exoskeleton made up by layers, which basically is also the look that I'm aiming for when it comes to his hard surface. For the wings, I believe that I went something for the mayfly and the ladybug wings. Actually, I think it's more like the ladybug. They're really beautiful, and they kind of give you that feeling that even though the creature might be a little bit heavy, it can still lift itself with his wings. Also, the scale plays a big role here, because since gravity actually influences the creature's weight. Being smaller, even though looking a little bit heavier, can still sustain itself flying and walking across the various surfaces that it might encounter, meaning leaves and stuff like that. For the limbs, I went more of an amphibian type of creature, and this is a part where I wasn't completely sure of still. I wanted something cute but dangerous, let's put it this way, because most things this size in nature kind of have that duality of being cute sometimes but also dangerous. For example, amphibians, right? Frogs can be quite beautiful, but then again their skin is poisonous, so I wanted to portray a little bit of that as well. But I didn't solve the design here because, like I told you, I stay as loose as I can. Oh yeah, the face, actually I wanted something as whimsical and as appealing as possible, and for that I went for the sea turtle. Also, to support that sense of the creature being a creature that had this big life experience and traveled a lot and saw a lot, even though it might or might not have a short lifespan, I also wanted to create a couple of little extra items that could support the story, meaning a couple of backpacks or maps or scrolls that could inform the viewer that, okay, this guy has a lot on his back, you know, he's been traveling all over the place, he's been collecting stories, and I wanted to give you that impression, or the viewer, that impression of him having a big life story to tell, a journey just like us all, and he has learned, he has evolved, he has made that life experience the best he could, thus giving him a couple of items that could support that. when it comes to refining the concept here, I just wanted to now get into what I would consider a little bit more of detail. Now you can start worrying about things like facial features, more in depth, perhaps even a facial expression which can portray that feeling that you want to give the viewer of, okay, if I just found this guy out in the middle of nowhere, how would he look like? What would be his attitude, his presence? How would that inform me what this creature is? And I started refining a little bit of the face. And again, what I did was I lowered the size of the brush even more, so I can go into a more refined detail, because I really want to start putting things like more into perspective and refining the items that he has. And now it's more of being as informative as I can, and obviously think a little bit of visual appeal as well. And for that, you can't just have an idea. I mean, you need to be both, and this is my firm belief. I think you need to be both an artist and a craftsman or draftsman in order to be able to not only come up with your ideas, but also be able to present them in the best possible way for the viewer to feel engaged or to relate to it. So again, I'm just now tracing over, while not completely tracing over, the previous lines I had, in order to refine and inform the design a little bit better before I then lower the brush size again and keep on adding those refined lines. But for this part, I believe that's about it. The drawing should stay finished by now, should be finished by now in terms of line drawing, so that I can then add a couple of shadows and go into the coloring process, which is also a simple one. Like I said, I like to keep things simple and progress with detail as needed. So enjoy the rest of the video.
None of them lasted more than 3 days.
Every man for themself.
Ça change. Faut jamais se laisser démonter.
Vous croyez qu'ils oseraient venir ici?
Les cons, ça ose tout. C'est même à ça qu'on les reconnaît. récapitule dans le calme. On la débuse. On la passe à l'acide. On la découpe au laser. On la dissout et on balance ce qui reste dans le lac Dominique.
Simply let this record continue.
Slow and DJ Lucky Touch. Check me out.
On a affaire à des gens extrêmement sérieux.
He's a hip-hop phenomenon. Word is born.
On raconte d'un revers de la main, il pouvait déchirer le ciel.
Rien n'arrive par hasard.
Well, I did not sleep through last night's storm like you promised I would.
It was a noisy one.
It was a noisy one, yeah.
Lots of lightning, but that true.
So, getting close to the end of this first part, where we finalize the concept and start exploring the mood and the colors that could, you know, inform the viewer a little bit better about our little creature here, its home world, or the places where he likes to be more often or is seen more often. I normally go about this as, again, fast as I can, but still considering things like main sources of light, shadows, and though I'm not making a perfect render of the image, I'm still trying to give the viewer as much as I can in terms of all the elements that I've just mentioned, story, etc. So what I do here is a technique called cell shading, which is normally a method used in comics, especially manga and anime, which consists basically of you just selecting your lasso tool and going over the entire model. Let me just step back here. After you finish your line sketching, what I do is to create a group by going with the lasso tool and selecting all the form and then filling it in. You then create that group with a mask so that you can have the character separated from the background. This way I know and I can ensure that everything that I do on the character is not going to go over the background and vice versa. So basically that's all I'm doing here. I have my line drawing on a separate group which consists of all the previous layers, the refined paths, the lines, and even the original drawing, because all those layers kind of give it a nice touch. Then I fill in this with a little tint of gray to give it that back selection, if you want to say it this way, or that mask, which I can use all the time. And I'm actually going to now use the same technique to start drawing the shadows in. By just creating a multiply layer on top of that, you can actually, I'm going to plan out my shadows first. I like to just select a simple brush, put the layer on multiply, and then using the brush to paint loosely the areas of shadow, considering obviously the main light source, as you can see over there, which is coming from the top right side, basically almost 3/4 from the character's left side. So now that I've placed my shadows, or actually I've made more or less a study of my shadows, I can go in and with more finesse, let's say, start placing the shadows with the lasso tool again. Now this technique is normally used on quick concepts, and it gives you that depthness, or that depth to the character pardon me, without the need to actually, you know, waste 2 or 3 days, or a day if you're really good, or whatever, rendering an image. Now it doesn't have to be either one or the other. You can actually kind of go in, if you want to, with a brush and smooth out those edges. For me personally, I really like to see this more stylized look to both the coloring and the shadows. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Mike Mignola. Obviously, I'm sure he can render beautifully, but the thing that appeals to me is that kind of stylized look that the images have, and that's something I like to create in my own artwork as well. So filling in all the gaps with the shadows, and erasing some of the parts to kind of pop out the areas which are more close to the camera or that have light bouncing on them. I go over this on the entire drawing.
The majority race of the Cheerios are the same beach. incorporated in this modern rock to stir them up.
Moving on to the actual colors now. For me, color plays a big role in every composition, and obviously it adds another layer of depth to your character as well. You'll see that I made at least 3 iterations, and the way I do this is really simple. Again, basically underneath your shadow layer, if you remember correctly, we initially made a base layer, let's put it this way, where we had our line sketch. Then we created with a lasso tool a base of just a grayish color that I can now go in, select the parts that I want, and tint them with the color. This is, again, my method of going over things and doing things. Doesn't have to be yours. You could also add another layer and change that layer, that blend mode, to colorize it, and on top of that you would, either do another render pass, or the way I do it is I use the base layer to start tinting things and giving them the color that I want to, and having that all in one layer will also allow me to kind of, let's say like an alpha mask, select each individual color and change it if I don't like it, which is actually what you'll see me doing to come up with a couple of iterations. So other than that, I think that's about it. Next, I'll just go over a couple of post effects and a couple of highlights and whatnot to make the image pop out a little bit more and make it more appealing as well. So now, in order to give this color a little bit of variation and a bit of vibrance as well, I just create an overlay layer, select the warm color for the part where the main source light is coming from, and a cooler color to where the shadows and possibly a rim light would be, a backlight would be, and I just go over a little bit to give it more of a variety to it. You don't want things to look too flat, even though this is more or less a flat render or a flat colored image. It's not beautifully rendered, but it can still be informative and it can still be visual appealing, and that's basically what my workflow and what I try to do. So getting close to the end here now, I start adding a couple of highlights here and there to make the character pop out a little bit more, and also these highlights, be careful where you place them because they can be very informative in terms of the type of material or surface that the light is bouncing to and from. So I just add a couple of highlights here and there, and I'll also add a very strong, or a rather strong, rim light to the character. Somehow I believe that, I think it was Danny Williams who said this, I believe that when you add a really strong rim light, it just instantly gives you that sense of depth and brings the character forth so much. So that's a really nice way of trying to bring the character a little bit more to the viewer's attention and saying, okay, look, I considered this source of light and this is where it's coming from and this is how you would see it in real life or in reality. So I hope you enjoyed the video and you learned at least something out of it, and I'll see you on the next part where we're going to take this little critter here and start concepting it in ZBrush. So see you on the next video.
oh yeah, oh yeah, you gotta, oh yeah, oh yeah, you gotta, oh yeah, oh yeah,